Welcome to the Be More You podcast.
We're your hosts, Mon
and Stefan.
And this is a space where we want you to be more like you
and less like everyone else.
Enjoy this episode. Alright, so Stefan.
Yes, Mon?
Welcome to the Be More You podcast.
Welcome to you to the Be More You podcast.
It's really surreal to be sitting here doing this with you because we spoke on my podcast, the Finally Found podcast, about 5 months ago now.
Yeah,
5 months?
something like that.
Yeah.
5?
5 months.
Yep.
I think I've only known you for 5 months. So 5 months ago, and we spoke about your story.
Yes.
And now we're sitting here together on our podcast 5 months later.
Yeah, it feels pretty wild, actually. Because, especially the other day when we did all, the finishing touches and everything for here, you messaged me and you were just like, oh my God, it feel like having all the physical things be put in place just made it feel so much more real. And then today I was just like,
we're doing it.
We're here.
We're doing it.
The microphones are down. There's a computer that is recording.
There's a camera. It's rolling.
What do you mean? And there's a big light behind us. So yeah, it is. It's happened really seamlessly. Seamless,
our word. Yeah, no, you're right. It's I didn't think this is where I'd be after that podcast. I did say to you though, your life was going to change completely after you came on, because if anyone hasn't listened to that podcast, it was the first time you...
First time ever. This is my second podcast ever.
And it's your own. That's amazing. But no, I did say to you that after we did that podcast and you but you told and shared your story that your life was going to change, and I believed that wholeheartedly because I knew I had been through that already, where I kind of spoke about my story. I'd seen other people speak about their stories, and the freedom that people feel after it when they finally let go of that old narrative that had just been running over and over and controlling every aspect of your life. I actually wanted to do a follow-up podcast with you after that one, and we'd spoken about doing it, but then we ended up just going and making our own. What was it like after you actually did do that podcast with me?
So that's what I was about to start saying. I was like, I'm going to talk about this.
I can read your mind, so it's fine.
So, yeah, because Mon kept saying to me, you kept saying to me, life's going to change, life's going to change. I'm like, yeah, okay, I get it. But what changed the most was my relationship with my family. It's the thing that I loved so much about this was my parents, nor should they, but I don't think they ever would. Now I cringe as I say this because they'd be like, of course we would, but it's completely different. So what I was going to say is I don't think they would ever sit for an hour and 45 minutes and just let me talk around in circles. Because I fully understand that the way that I explain things sometimes and the way that I get from point A to B then C looks like a fucking squiggly line. My conversation seems absolutely manic at times, but I get around to the point at the end, and I need that freedom sometimes to be able to actually express myself fully and find the words that I need to say. But I realized after that podcast, I'm like, never would I have gotten the opportunity to actually explain myself with the freedom, not to mention the fact of, which is completely normal for mum and dad to just trigger the hell out of me with their responses and me to trigger them with my responses. Yeah. So the fact that they could just sit and listen to me speak freely to somebody impartial to the situation, it changed everything. It's our conversations are a little bit easier now. The way that we sort through things together are way easier. I think they just, I think the biggest thing for them was they just never thought that I was going to be okay.
Yeah.
And they just... I know, because my relationship with mum and dad has shifted, especially with mum. I'm like, you're not afraid to say what you think to me anymore, because you're
not fragile anymore.
You're not afraid that something bad will happen to me anymore. You know that I've got my shit semi together now. Yeah. So that was the biggest thing that changed. And then just the amount of people throughout Geelong, teaching yoga, the amount of people that came up to me before and after class and said that they'd listened, and people had actual real changes in their life. And not because I was like, you should change this and that. I was like, I heard a piece of myself in listening to you speak about yourself, and it just really made me think. And I'm like, fuck, I never thought that would happen. I was so terrified of talking about anything.
Oh my God, can confirm. No, but it is. It's scary. Especially when it's yeah, like you'd never expressed it. And also, you were doing it with someone you didn't know. Like, we didn't know each other that well at all.
That had to be the thing, though.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but you know, that in itself is also another layer on top of, like, everything else. But, yeah, I'm still so proud of you to this day for everything you've done. But,
Thank you.
yeah, I think that was kind of the catalyst for everything because... as in everything with this, because after that, like, my life didn't really change. I was like, cool, sick, did a good podcast, and there's getting heaps of, like, listens and whatever. But it wasn't until someone actually approached us individually. She came up to us individually.
Well, it was really funny. This is the other thing after the podcast.
Yeah.
People, I kept meeting, like, drug counselors, and I kept meeting mental health nurses, and all these people were just like, it was like a magnet, and they all just kept coming. I was like, I didn't know there was this many of you. And one of them being Mia, one of the yoga teachers, which was really funny, actually. The first time I met Mia, because I just started teaching at this new studio at Wonder. Mon goes there. You go there too. Yeah. And yeah, Mia walked in, and she was like, I was like, what was your name? She's like, Mia. I was like, great, ticked her off. And I was like, oh, so how's your day been? She's like, oh, good, I taught. I was like, oh, you a teacher? She's like, yeah. And I was like, where do you teach? She's like, at this studio.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I was like, I didn't actually go red. I was pretty embarrassed. I was like, far out, because I'm at a new studio. I was like, I feel like, but there's so many teachers there. Anyway, yes, I was embarrassed. And
so this is an example of his manic, like, thoughts, like racing.
And yes, this is it. And yeah, and then another student was there, and she was like, and we were all just laughing. And anyway, then and she told me that she was a mental health nurse. That was something else that she did, and I was so intrigued because I was talking about, I think it was just actually before the podcast. Yeah. And she's like, I'd love to get you in and talk to people, this and that. There's not many men in this area that talk about this. I'm like, yeah, cool. I'm happy to help any way that I can. And then, yeah, it was after the podcast, she spoke to us individually and then brought us together. Yeah. And we sat in a cafe and spoke about this thing.
Yeah, which we didn't know what it was going to be at the start when we were kind of talking about it. It was supposed to just be like a little mini series of videos that we were supposed to give to these young kids.
Yep.
Like, because when Mia came up to me, shout out to Mia actually, because she's literally the person that brought us together.
Mia, thank you.
to do this whole thing. But she'd said, she's like, you guys really need to be speaking to the younger generation, like kids in schools and, you know, particularly kids from the ages between 7 to like 17 need to hear people like you in front of them speaking to them about this stuff because they're just not listening to anybody else. And when she said that to me, I was like, yeah, like, cool. I'm already kind of doing that with my own stuff. I don't think I can add another thing to my list of things to do. Yeah. But there was always this part of me that was like, oh, like, she's right, like 100% she's right, because again, we've both spoken about this before, but like coming up through, you know, primary school, high school, and just the usual shit and all that society tells you have to be and do at that age and have your shit figured out as soon as you get through high school. It's like there wasn't anybody like us talking to kids about this sort of shit. It was always airy-fairy. It was always like sugar-coated. It was never the reality of like what it actually like is, as in mental health, addiction and all that. So there was a part of me that was like, there is something there, but my head was just so far like down my own road that I was like, yeah, cool, whatever, I don't like get Stefan to go talk to kids, like. But then when we sat down together and we started talking about it and just for me it was like seeing your excitement about it, because I had never come across a person who was just as passionate and excited about this sort of stuff as I was. I was always a person in any business that was the creative powerhouse or engine that would always be like tugging people along going, come on, like get excited about this. Yes. Let's go, let's do this. So sitting and talking with you about it and seeing how hyped you were getting about it, I was like, oh my God, okay, maybe we should do this. I don't know what this is yet, but we should do it. Yeah, and I guess when Mia was kind of talking to us about it, she had an idea of what she thought it would be, or just she was kind of palming ideas off to us. But then it really wasn't until we sat down and were like...
Big bit of butcher's paper and like a bunch of texts. And can I just add to like, because when we first sat the first time, I was just really pumped at the thought of doing some more meditations for people. And like talking to, like you said, that like time period is, for me... I started doing yoga when I was at high school and it was the weirdest thing ever. I went with my mum and everyone was like, you're doing what? Like, I was afraid to tell my friends.
Yeah.
You know, and I've always looked at that. And I mean, that's very different now. I've taught at one school in Geelong. But when she started talking about this age group, I was like, yeah, that age group was so... That time period was so challenging for me, and I know it's challenging for everyone. Mm-hmm. It's like somebody has to actually tell people, or not tell, nobody has to tell anybody. Somebody actually would be good if somebody outlaid that information in a more approachable way for people. And yeah, I was like, oh yeah, cool, and I would like to do more meditation. So great, let's do this thing. It's only 6 videos over 6 weeks.
Yeah.
This is easy. Let's do that.
And that's the thing. I think we had no idea going into this that this is what it would become. There's no way in hell when we were sitting at that cafe, like, I didn't think I was gonna stop and give up my YouTube channel and podcast to do this with somebody else.
No.
That was like my greatest nightmare, and here I am. But yeah.
Gotcha.
Damn it. I joke to him all the time. I'm like, you literally just like slingshotted yourself into my life and then unpacked your shit and was like, I'm here. And I'm like, cool. I don't know what to do with you now. I'm kidding.
That was a slap on the shoulder, if anybody's wondering.
They've got a video. They can watch it.
If you're not watching the video, that was a slap on the shoulder. Yes.
Yeah, but I guess it really did start when we did roll out the butcher's paper and we were like, all right, let's just get these ideas out. What do you want to do? Like, what do you want this thing to be? And yeah, I think from there, like I said, it was this excitement thing for me because I had always wanted to do something with somebody, but I never found the right person who was at the same like level in terms of like just excitement and passion as I have been, you know?
And for me, I'd always found myself in projects or situations. Well, yeah, projects, all music projects. Actually, not all, a few others as well. But with it, nothing ever fully aligned for me. It was always like I felt like I was compromising something else in order to do this project. And I was like, yeah, at least it's 80% there.
Yeah.
You know, and all those things were really important to lead to now. But that's why when this thing happened, it was like somebody did have us in a slingshot. It's like within 3 weeks, I was like, what are we doing? You want to do what? I'll fucking do that. That sounds rad. How do we do that?
That was actually how it went, which is so funny because, like, I think the beautiful part about all of this is, and again, we've said this before, you bring to the table something that I lack, and I bring to the table something that you lack.
Absolutely.
And it's like we've got this mutual love and idea for this thing. Like, how do we just make it happen?
Yep.
That's
absolutely.
all it was. That was the missing piece. It's like, cool, these are the ideas, and that butcher's paper, it's going to be iconic one day. We still have it. But it literally just had everything we wanted to do. And I guess it kind of got broken down into what are the 3 pillars? Like, what is it that you do? What is it that I do? What can we do together? And so it was like, all right, let's start with our experiences, because experiences was the thing that brought this thing together. It was a story, a conversation about your life experience.
Yes.
You know, and then, yeah, go.
And, well, one of the reasons why I was actually talking to Ariel, my housemate, about this last night, and I was always so scared to share my experience because I never wanted to glorify anything. I also didn't want anybody to ever think that I had it really tough or that I had it worse off than anybody, because I know plenty of people that have been through much, much more challenging things than me.
Yeah.
But it was the realization that I had the power, or maybe the ability within myself to speak openly and honestly about it, because I think that's what part of my strengths is, using my voice. Like, I'm a singer. I enjoy talking quite a lot. But I was so nervous to share my story because I was like, I don't want people to think, I never wanted people to think that, the glorification or the, I've been through something super, super hard and you need to listen to me or anything like that. But your perspective on that and experiences was something that I'd never heard before. And it was something that I'd never heard expressed so passionately before. And that is that your story can always help somebody else, or just by sharing your story, you have that power to do that. And I was like, so it then makes everybody individually just as special, which they are, as one another. It takes all that comparison game or anything out, and that is what brought us together. And that's also what made me so excited for this, because I was always like, who the fuck am I to say this or to share this or to do any of that? And that that perspective simmered all that down to like this pure essence. And I was like, oh, I can fucking grab that and move forward with that, definitely.
That's it.
And that was the first thing we really built that upon, like the experience.
And I think like with the whole story and experience part, like you're the expert of your own life. Like you are the expert of your story. No one can tell your story better than you can. And I think the beautiful thing, and this is what I've always tried to do, particularly in the last 4 years of like me doing content creation and YouTube and all that, is like just showing people that no one is ever going to be able to experience your life through your eyes, through your lens. You're the person that has that power. And then you also have the power to share that. And I just think like the purpose of life is to just go out and live it the way that you want to live it at any age, any stage, and then take everything you've accumulated over years and years of experiences and opportunities and shit going wrong and things, you know, all the highs and lows of life, and then sharing that.
Yes.
Like sharing that, and then whoever takes from it what they need to, great. Whoever goes, you're a fucking idiot, cool.
Great.
There's somebody else that they're going to be able to relate to.
Yes.
And that is why I was so excited for you when you were sharing your story. And it's why I said your life's going to change, because once you have that realization of like, fuck, this story no longer owns me. It does not own me and what I do going forward. Sure, there'll be things I've got to work through and whatever, but I fucking own it. Like, it's mine. And I'm going to tell it the way I know how to tell it, because nobody else is going to tell it better.
Absolutely.
That was really good. I liked how I worded that. Just a pat on the shoulder. But no, so yeah, that was why, that was really honestly the reason why I was just like, oh, you have no idea how much your life's going to change. Because that's what kind of the YouTube journey that I was on taught me. Because I would have people from all over the world being like, oh my God, I don't know you, but your story really resonated with me. And I was like, this is insanity. What do you mean? Like, you live in Sweden. Like, do you even speak English? So I think that's something that going forward, even with Be More You, that's at the forefront of my mind, is like everything that we do, every story we tell, every person that we speak to, I just want it to contribute to someone watching and being like, maybe I can go out and do that. Yeah, you can. 100% you can.
Absolutely.
No reason why you can't.
Do all of it.
Do everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, the experiences part was sort of the first, I guess, I'm just going to say it's a pillar. I don't even know if that's the right term, but
we'll go with that.
We'll go with pillar. All right, great. We've got 3 pillars, guys. But like the first pillar was like, all right, if we want to go out and do this thing, we need to be honest. We need to be relatable. We need to be vulnerable. That means we have to go first. Yeah. We have to step up and be like, so guys, this is us. Because for me, it's always about building trust with people.
Yeah, and we have been trialed by fire of late.
Can I just say, when we started this thing, I thought, oh yeah, this is going to be all like fun and games. We're going to like help people. I did not think that I would be put through this absolute fucking ringer of like emotions and like dealing with shit that I just didn't even think I'd need to deal with. Like the last couple of weeks.
Oh, like I think I said it and I saw it and I was like, this is going to require us, which is one of the things I love most about it. It's like, there's full, complete transparency.
Yeah. And
you have to, you're going to need to step through that.
Yeah.
But by God, I didn't realize it was going to be as aggressive as it has been at spots.
So when we said slingshot, like legitimately like slingshotted us into oblivion.
Yeah.
But that, again, is a beautiful thing, because as we're going through all this, it's like we're literally showing people everything. Like, this is what we're going through. And Absolutely. This is how we're, at the time, dealing with it, with what we have.
And it's going to change constantly, and you're going to have to shuffle, and whatever practice it is that worked for you one day, it might not work the next, and whatever person that you sort of speak to one day might not work the next, but just like try your best each day and just show up, right?
Exactly. 100%.
Yeah, so continue with the pillars, actually. Go, pillars. Pillar 2.
Pillar 2 was...
mindfulness or mindset?
Yeah, mindfulness. Yeah, so I guess that was kind of Stefan's realm of, like, expertise, where I was like, here you go, handball to you, you take care of that one. But yeah, like you said it yourself. You're so passionate, and I, honest to God, have never met somebody who loves yin and meditation more than this guy. Like, if you have not done one of his classes, do them, because he will chase you up about it. 100%. No, but like seriously, again, it goes back to that whole thing where it was like, you were so passionate about it, and I was like, oh, fuck, like he wants to get this out in the world. Like, how can we get this out in the world? And you were just doing it in a way that was different to anybody else that I had kind of come across. Like, I'd been doing meditation, yoga for years, and your just view on it and your perspective that you were coming in from was just completely different. It was that point. This might not work today, but it might work tomorrow. Maybe it won't work tomorrow, but there'll be a way or a different practice that you can use.
Yeah.
I just want to, give it to you and like see, just try it.
Try it on. Yeah, I think that's really important with all this stuff, because there's so much information right now.
Yeah.
So much. And there are so many avenues that are telling you need to be super strict with things. Now, that creating those boundaries is really important, but having freedom within those boundaries, like without that freedom, you're just avoiding again.
Yeah.
Just creating something else to avoid your emotions or your feelings. But if you can create some freedom and actually utilize these practices to move forward, whether it be a visualization meditation, a mindfulness meditation, it might be some breath work, it might be yin yoga, it might be flow, it might be movement, it might be skateboarding, it might, whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah.
If you can create freedom and just allow yourself to feel into your intuition on what that day is, that's got to be where the sweet spot is, I think.
And that is mindfulness. Like, it's
Yeah.
being mindful that today I'm having a really shit day. So
Yeah.
this is not going to work. I'm going to go try do this.
And the universe will tell you to fucking slow down. What happened to you on the skateboard a few weeks ago? So I've got this skateboard. I love this skateboard. It's by a brand called Land Yachts. Land Yachts, please send me some skateboards.
Sponsor us.
Sponsor us, please. So yeah, this skateboard, I got it about 3.5 years ago. I like searched everywhere for it, and I was like, this is the one. So at the end of last year, I walked out of my house. It was raining. I was never normally skate in the rain, and I was like, fuck it, Stefan, just get on that board. I knew I shouldn't have. As I walked out, I hit my keys in my pocket, and my van actually opened. And I was like, not today. I'm skateboarding. Got onto the road, about 3 pushes, slipped, hit the deck so hard, my head slingshotted over the back of my backpack. I was like, I'm fine. I was very shocked. Very shocked. But I was like, I'm fine. I get it. I'll put the skateboard away. Put the skateboard away. Anyway, walked to the supermarket, got what I needed to get, came back, did yoga that afternoon with my girlfriend at the time in the lounge room, and all these upward facing dog. Now, anybody that doesn't know what that is, it's like a lot of back extension. So really stretching the front of your neck, stretching the front of your body. I laid flat on my back to go into a twist. I literally couldn't lift my head up. I was like, holy shit, I've broken myself. And I got reverse whiplash. So anyway, that was the first casualty of my skateboard. The first bad one anyway. Then a long time later, 7 or 8 months later, Mon's learning how to skateboard. Mon's going pretty quick. Mon's maybe going faster than she should.
Mon really, when she gets in her head that she wants to do something and there's someone there telling her, you're not going to be able to do that, she's going to go and do it.
Yeah, I was prodding my finger in a little bit too.
But I was like, no, I want to do this. Skateboarding's been like one of those things as a kid that I've always wanted to do. I just never had anyone around me doing it. So I just was never something to be like, yeah, let's go do this. But seeing you skateboard, I was like, oh, I want to do that. So then I was like, no, I'm going to learn. I'm going to make it my mission that after summer I'm going to learn. And yeah, I started getting too cocky and confident.
Real cocky. I turned around. I saw Mon, I'd say starfishing in midair, like arms out to the side, right legs out to the right, left foot still on the board as the tail of the board slides really fast. My jaw dropped and I was like, fuck, she's going to hit the deck. I know what that feels like. Oh no. And then she just went, boom, and like cut everywhere. So that was casualty number 2. That hurt you, right? A little bit? Her hip, she came to my yoga that night and I was like, what are you doing here?
Lie on that side.
How many days were you concussed for?
Like 3. It was bad. I literally thought I broke my head.
Yeah. So then, 3 weeks later, me and my friend Abel he's like, do you want to kick the football? I was like, I never kick the football. Yes, I do want to run around and kick the football with you. So we went to do that, and my housemate Ariel calls me, and she fell off the same skateboard going down the hill. Mind you, all of these instances was like, hey, you need to slow down. And all of us were like, I'm not slowing down today. So Ariel goes down a hill. She thought it was getting better. 2 days later, works out she's fractured
Her wrist.
one of the bones in her wrist. Yeah. How did I get onto this?
I have no idea. I was like, I'm just going to let him go because surely he'll loop it around.
I can't remember.
The universe telling you to slow down.
To slow down, yeah. So that's been, yeah. I don't know what else I was going to go on with that. But yeah, that's what's happened with my skateboard. So land yachts. But yeah, so that's one of the things of mindfulness, right? Different things on different days. And if you don't check yourself and feel into that,
you will wreck yourself.
You check yourself before you wreck yourself. But it was really cool because I've always, I quoted this book or mentioned this book in the podcast we did together, Stealing Fire. And it's about flow states. It talks into psychedelics. It talks into the Marines and what they do over in America. It talks into different types of like flotation tanks and different types of altered states. So I've always been really passionate about this area because I'm like, everybody has these everyone has these mindfulness practices in their life, whether it be cooking when you get in the zone, or whether it be skateboarding or surfing or meditation or yoga or running and kicking the football and being intently present with everything that's happening as the ball hits your hands or as you step off one foot to kick. Like these activities that we love, I'm like, I just think we get so confused about what mindfulness is and that you need to sit down and meditate in order to be present or in order to cultivate that awareness, which it is good to do so. Don't get me wrong. I think it's a very important part, but also there's all this other shit you can do that's really helpful. So the fact that we were talking about actually combining all of these things together, I got so damn excited because I was like, well, all of these things are equally as important as one another.
Yeah.
Can we just put them all together? And Mon's sitting there smiling ear to ear going, yes, we can.
It is, you know what's really funny? I don't even know if I've told you this, but like in the beginning, like in my head, that's kind of what I just envisioned. In my head, I assumed that's what you were thinking too. Should never assume, obviously.
Yeah.
But then I'd say these ideas like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if we, went bungee jumping or skydiving in New Zealand because that's a flow state. And you were like, yeah. And I was just like, why is he getting so excited? But for me, it was like, oh my God, he's never experienced this. To just fucking go, fuck it, go and do it.
So here's the other thing. So I stopped smoking weed 6 months ago today, actually. Yep, good work. Yes. So completely sober. For 6 months, which is the longest time for me. Now, towards the end of my drug use, it was just avoidance, and I was still doing a lot of things in my life that I really enjoyed, but at the end of the day, I wasn't ultimately processing the things that I needed to process in order to live a really happy, healthy, full, fulfilled life. And the 3 month, 4 month mark is all that I could really ever hit without being like, oh, I'll smoke a joint, or I'll start drinking again, or I'll party, or whatever the hell it is. So throughout the last 6 months, I've been, feeling everything for the first time, to be honest, because I started taking drugs. We started drinking and stuff around 14, but like, it's been like 15, 16 years of avoiding all of my feelings and not actually realizing that I was. So throughout this process, it's been like, what the fuck I'm feeling. Also went through a breakup, or separation, me and Lance call it, because we don't like the word breakup, which is, I think, good. But yeah, that's been really good and really powerful to move through together. The start of this, the moving and sculpting into different studios and teaching and writing music and all of this fucking shit that I thought I'd done forever, but realized that I'd never actually been alive for. And then Mon's like, let's put the cherry on the cake and let's go and do some real wild shit next year. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna I feel like a 15-year-old again, learning how to use my body for the first time, especially emotionally. I mean, my legs and arms are fine, but so that's been another really exciting part of all this, because at no point have I been like, I want to smoke, or I want to do this, or I want to do that. There's been triggers that have come up, like songs, albums, Loved Machine Guns Kelly's album from last year, but by God, it makes me want to smoke a joint. So yeah, I'm not playing that at the moment. But yeah, so it hasn't as far been challenging as far as staying sober or anything like that. But it's just been interesting to have all of these things in my life that I wholeheartedly believe in, and have it with a passion and a curiosity to experience life the way it should be, I think.
Yeah. For
me, anyway. So, yeah, that's the added thing on top of this that's been really interesting to move through. But I'm really happy, and I'm like... the separation, we weren't married. Separation makes it... It fully makes it sound like we're married. We were not married, but I'm going to keep saying separation. So, yeah, the separation was wild. The two of us, we just decided... I'm just going to talk into this now. We just decided that...
This is what this podcast is all about. We are literally... What's happening? You're going to hear it.
It's really important. So, no, we saw each other yesterday. Well, we've been separated for 4 weeks? 3 weeks? But to be able to do it and feel into it together and actually be open and honest about our feelings and still be fully in love with one another, but know that you're not on the right path as one another, has been one of the most freeing and beautiful things I've ever experienced, because it's like, hey, I fucking love the hell out of you. Head to toe, every single part of you. Like, I saw her yesterday and I was just laughing with her. And she's like, what are you laughing at? And I'm like, you were like one of the funniest people I know. She's like, yeah, I know. I'm like, fuck, I love you. You're so cool. But to be able to have that freedom, I think that's what all of this can give you. Like, that's why I'm so passionate about it. It's like that relentless pursuit of peace, like finding that spot within you and constantly trying to, because if you're doing it for yourself, you're doing it for the world.
100%.
Like, if you can get that, and if you can sit in that spot and maybe not on some days, but try to get there, then you can have really, from what I'm experiencing in my 6 months of feeling my emotions properly, is that, yeah, you can, it's all just a part of the human experience. It's fucking beautiful.
And I think, like, for you, it's been just constantly, and I think I've said it to you before, like, just constantly showing up to your life. There are days where you're probably like, oh, fuck this, but you still show up. And not every day is going to be a good day. And, like, I always say to people, if you don't show up to your life at 100%, everything that you deem important or a priority is going to suffer. Yep. Everything around you will suffer.
Absolutely.
If you're giving 100% to your partner, 100% to your family, friends, work, career, whatever, and giving absolutely nothing back to yourself, everything's going to suffer. It's actually physically impossible to not take care of yourself first, because then everybody else reaps the benefits. Yes. Of you being at 100%.
Absolutely.
And so, like, feeling into emotions and actually working through that shit that, like, yeah, you don't... It's uncomfortable. It's not fun. It's fucking scary half the time. But, like, how do you expect yourself to grow if you decide you're going to sit in that wheel of suffering? Like, it's just... It's a comfort zone. Suffering is a choice and a comfort zone.
Absolutely. A lot of people find themselves quite addicted to it and dependent on that suffering. And the book that I got, that quote, that the relentless pursuit of peace, is it's in a book called, of course it is, The Complete Guide to Yin Yoga by by Bernie Clark. And it's a great book because it talks into all things yin, but through that, it was talking about selfishness. It's like, obviously don't be selfish. Like, but talking it from a place of greed. Yeah. Like, don't take more than you should.
Yeah.
You know, don't leave people in the lurch. Don't get one up on people. But if you're going to be selfish in your relentless pursuit of peace, because that's the only way that you can actually step forward into the world. And it like exactly what you just said, if you're giving everybody else everything, which I have done so many times in my life, and I'm still have weeks where I burn out because I say yes to too many things for good reason, but if I don't give it back to myself, then I can't teach a class as good as what I maybe could have. I can't be there to support a friend if they're going through something. I can't train the way that I want to train to keep myself fit and healthy.
Yeah. That's it. It's like, take what you need and give what you can. It's literally the only way to live. It's like, take what you need from everything, from people, from the environment and the earth and just give back where you can.
Mm-hmm.
It's the yin and yang, the balance of like an ebb and flow of everything. But yeah, I guess that was...
I didn't do it. So I asked Mon today, I was like, can I burp quite a lot.
Can confirm.
It's wild, actually. It's quite insane.
Be silent.
Be silent. I said to Mon, I was like, can I burp? She's like, you can do whatever you want, Stefan. I was like, I don't know if I should. I just kept it quiet.
Full transparency.
Full transparency. So yeah. So this pillar number 2 is mindfulness.
Yeah, which obviously with the YouTube channel that we have, it's going to include a lot of like the different practices that you do, that I do, and having really cool people doing really cool shit on there as well.
It's going to be awesome.
You know, it's going to be experts in fields that we probably don't know enough about, or even fields that we're just curious about.
Absolutely, and just people that are fucking living their truth.
Yeah,
and. Like who you guys would have already seen, actually, Hugh. So Hugh's like my yin mentor, and he is one of the kindest, most beautiful humans I've ever met before in my life. But his passion for yin, and he's like, him and I get talking, and he's like, I've never met somebody as passionate as yin as you. He's like, you're so passionate. I was like, yeah, man, so are you. Like, what? Like, of course, it's an incredible practice. But having people like that on the platform really excites me, because these people just live in the things that they love.
Yeah.
And it shines through every single word that they say.
Yeah.
You could have 2 people side by side saying the exact same script. And if it was him and somebody, obviously, if it was him and somebody that wasn't as into it, you can just feel it. The amount of people that say to me, Hugh. Actually, I actually call him the godfather of yin. I haven't told him that yet.
Well, now he's gonna know.
Now he knows. If you hear this, Hugh, I love you, man. But yeah, so that the practices on the YouTubes.
So Stefan's very new to the YouTube world. No, but yeah, so mindfulness was obviously a big part of it, because the third pillar was going to be mindset, which was kind of where I came in, because a lot of the stuff that I do it revolves around reframing and reconditioning the mind just to work for you, not against you, because we fucking grow up and condition ourselves to literally let our mind work against us. And I did that for so many years. Like, again, like from the age of 16 to about 23, I explored depths of my mind that I just wouldn't even wish, like, my worst, and I don't have enemies, but like, I wouldn't want anyone to go through that.
Yeah. It
terrified the living shit out of me to see what I was capable of doing to myself. But in my head, I was like, no one can hurt me, because if I'm the person that's hurting myself bad enough, then no one else can do it worse.
Yeah, okay.
And carrying that through like my teen years, which was supposed to be the best years of your life, and woo, like that, it traumatized me for a really, really long time. But actually getting to like 23 and being like, I'm going to make the conscious decision just to take life into my own hands, because for too long I have given it to somebody else.
Yeah.
And it's not what I'm here for. Like, there's more to this than just doing it their way. So working on that, or like on the whole mindset shifting, is just something that I've been doing for 4 years for myself. Like, not for anybody else. It's just been like, I read a book, I listen to a podcast, I talk to someone, I go out and I experience something. And I guess for me, mindfulness and they go hand in hand. They have to go hand in hand, because how do you shift your mindset if you're not actually aware of the things you're doing and why you're doing them?
Absolutely.
So I guess for me, when I don't even know what kind of came first. It was like this trigger went off in my head, and I was like, I need to change something, because I am miserable and I am doing all these things that I don't want to be doing to myself. Why? Like, what is it? What is going on? And I guess, the whole mindset side of it, just to speak about like what we want to cover on Be More You, it's the same thing. It's bringing in people that are doing different things. Like for me, a massive chunk of work that I've been doing on myself was inner child work.
Yes.
And that was only introduced to me maybe a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
And it got introduced to me not by a book or a person. It was actually by just visiting mine and like meeting my inner child and them being like, wow, it's about fucking time you showed up, and like, where you been? But the changing moment for me was like, I felt like I met them when I was in Nepal.
Yes.
When I actually ticked off something that I forgot that I wanted to do when I was a kid. And then being there in that moment, again, being fully present, fully aware of like everything that was going, because like leading up to it, you're trekking for like fucking 7 hours every single day. And I refused to listen to music. I didn't want to listen to podcasts because I was like, I'm here. I want to be here. I want to experience all the pain. I want to experience, you know, the altitude, everything. I want to hear the sounds. So it was like mindful meditation, just walking meditation.
Yes.
For 7 hours a day. I felt like a fucking monk. But it was so powerful because it literally, every single thought that popped up in my head, it's like I fully understood what it meant to become the observer. Because it was hard. Obviously, like, you're tired, you're exhausted, you're depleted of so much, you know, once the altitude starts getting to you, you're battling all these external factors, but everything's happening internally. And then on top of that, you got your mind racing, being like, fuck, this is hard. Fuck, how much longer till the next rock? How much longer to this? When are we going to stop? And it was just like these rushing thoughts. That was my life for like 4 or 5 years. Just constantly, I was just in this tornado of thoughts and I could never get myself out of it. And I remember like walking, and one of the first things I said to myself was, you chose to be here, so be here. And then as soon as I started saying that to myself, I started doing these like check-ins, literally check-ins with my body. So I'd be walking, and as soon as it started getting hard, I'm like, all right, Mom, this is hard. Mind, how are we going? Yep, we're good. Sweet. Legs, how are we going? Great. Like, I started talking to myself, no joke. And I remember looking around at everybody being like, if I told these people, if they heard what was like happening in my head right now, they would think I was fucking losing it. But what I realized was happening was I was actually starting to become my own best friend.
Yes.
I was actually talking to myself as a friend, and not like I normally would, where it was like, oh, for fuck's sake, just anger.
Yes.
Just anger. And
one has an angry look.
So one of my... we'll talk about that another day. I tend to just react with anger. I've gotten a lot better, though. I have gotten a lot better. But yeah, noticing that and that thought pattern just constantly was what led me to get to like the foot of Mount Everest. Like Mount fucking Everest. That's not a thing everybody does and gets to see. And I remember looking there, and there was this guy on the bus that everyone thought he was crazy, but for some reason I was like, nah, you're switched on. Like, you know what's going on. And he was talking about like, when you get, make sure you always look up, because once you look up, the mountains will speak to you. And I remember like that thought popping into my head being like, oh, look up. Like, you're just looking at the ground. And I looked up and I just saw the Himalayas right in front of me. And it literally was like I had this out of body experience where like little Mon that was like 8 years old was standing next to me, looking at me going, oh, you finally fucking did it. Like, thank you.
Yes. Because
it's something that I wrote down on my bucket list that I really wanted to do when I was younger. And I explained that in my story, which you guys would have seen by now. Yeah, anyway. But that is when I felt like she came alive. She was out of the cage, and she was like, right, every fucking thing you promised me we were going to do as an adult, we're going and we're going to go do it.
Yep.
Which is why... like with YouTube and everything, that's why I started doing those things. It was not for anybody else. It wasn't to get likes and subscribes and for people to be like, look how fucking great her life was. It was like, I wanted to do that, so I'm going to go and do it. So when I started talking to you about experiences, being like, yeah, we can go do that, seeing the excitement that you had, it was like what I saw was like little Stefan being like, yay! Yeah. We're going to go do this fun stuff.
Yeah, so Lance used to always say, she's like, why do you hate holidays so much? I'm like, I don't. It's just always been so hard for me to leave.
Yeah.
Because I think for so long I was just like, I used music as a justification for drug use. I used like any sort of little successes that I have in my own life, justification again. You can do this if you can do that.
Yeah.
So it was like, I never wanted to leave, because if I leave, it was almost like I didn't feel like I deserved it or something. Actually, now that we're talking about it.
Or did you feel like it was like escapism? Like you'd have to go back to your life and it wouldn't be...
No, it was the fear of leaving.
Really?
Of like, yeah, it wasn't... When I got... If I ever got onto a holiday, I was like, thank fuck. This is wonderful.
Yeah.
But to get there...
Oh, to get there.
Yeah, to get
I thought you
there.
meant to leave that place.
No.
Oh, to get there.
I was fine to come home. I was like, great, I'm always excited to go. But to leave and to plan it in, Lance would be like... Ironically, we booked in 2 things to do... I think it was this year. The big C-19 prevented us from doing both. But it's one of the reasons why I'm doing the van as well. I've got a van. His name's Ian, the iLoad. He's cool, Ian. I'm building the back out just so I can go away sometimes. That's one of the things, because I always feel so much better, but I've just been stuck in this fear of missing out, or fear of falling behind, or fear of getting to where I think I need to, which has subsided immensely. Like, I don't feel like that's with the experiences and everything. I'm like, fuck yeah, I'll go here, I'll go there. I'm really excited to do it. I think it was also entangled in the drug use predominantly. So yeah, when you were like, let's go this, I'm like, what? I can come too? Really?
I was shocked. I was like, he really wants to do these things. This is weird. I've never had someone just give me a straight out yes. Usually I have to like, it's like pulling teeth out. Like,
no, I'm like,
just do it.
Nah, it's the neglect for years of myself.
So that's coming to you in 2022. But so the mindset stuff.
Actually, can I just say, I had also never... So with all the mindset stuff, I was always so confused with the systems, the way that I explain come from the perspective of mindfulness with mindset, because I'd listened to lots of podcasts, I'd read lots of books, I had changed my mindset dramatically over years, but I've never watched anybody or had anybody explain all of these individual concepts that I'd picked up from different areas in the one spot. So when I heard you start to explain what my mindset meant to you and all these different little things, I was like, I heard that from like maybe Ryan Holiday talk in a Stoic philosophy book, or I heard this from Eckhart Tolle, or I heard this from Aubrey Marcus when he interviewed whoever the hell it was, and you just had it all together in one spot, and I was like, who the fuck is this girl? How'd you do that? But it made me really excited, because I was like, I don't know how to explain that in that way.
Yeah.
I'd always found, I just leaned further towards the mindfulness and the body experiences and things like that. And that were the things that I loved guiding people through. And I was like, I want to give that experience. I was like, I know this other stuff happened. I just don't know when. You know?
No, I do.
So the fact that you could put it all together, I was like, this is incredible. I was like, I don't know how to do that. Nor do I want to put in the time right now to work out how to do that, because I think this is more in line with me and my purpose and what I want. So yeah, when the two got jammed together, it's like, this is a good thing.
No, but that's it. And I think, like, for me, you know, I love mindfulness, I love meditations, I love all that, but I don't really have the passion in teaching it to people, because for me, it's a personal thing for me, you know. But then with my mindset, because I've been doing it for so long with my own, like, practices myself, like figuring things out on my own, it just comes back to that whole sharing thing. Like, I just want to share it. And if it makes sense to you, great. If it doesn't, cool.
Awesome.
Like, there's going to be somebody else out there that you're going to listen to and go, oh, yeah, I get it.
Yep.
And I know that because how many of us watch something and go, that makes absolutely no fucking sense. But then someone else who's 10 years younger says it and it's like, oh, I get it. Like, you know, we're not supposed to like everything. It's okay to not like or agree with.
You're not going to be the person for everyone.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think that was, again, the whole YouTube thing taught me that. Like, I'm not going to be everyone's cup of tea, and that's fine, because there are a lot of people that aren't my cup of tea, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
It's funny, I learnt that very quickly with music, because everyone is so supportive. Friends are so supportive. But it'd be, I'd have people say, oh, who's coming to show this and that? And I'd be like, yeah, but you know that people aren't interested in this sort of stuff. I'm like, I don't care that people aren't interested in this. I'm so fucking grateful for the support, but it's the old thing, like, that's actually going down the line of friends aren't your fans and things like that. But understanding that at that moment and being like, I wouldn't want everybody, this to be everyone's thing, because then it wouldn't be special, or my explanation wouldn't be either, or, sorry, continue.
I'm used to the whole cutting me off thing now. We've been doing this for 5 months. Yeah, no, so the mindset stuff is going to be kind of tapping into a lot of the things that, like, I just love tapping into. Like, fear is a really big one. Like, I realize, especially lately, so
Yeah,
back
you're
to
like
the
a
skateboarding
fear
thing.
junkie.
Back to the skateboarding thing. It's been about 4 weeks since that epic fall.
She's great now.
I'm actually fucking getting really
You're
good.
actually really good on that day as well, to be honest.
I went down a ramp the other day. I don't know if you saw it.
Yeah, I
but
did see.
absolutely nailed that thing.
Yeah.
Took me an hour, but I actually said to myself during that time, because my friend James was like, just be patient. Like, just start, like, you know, start here, do a few of this. And I was just like...
Mon's like, patient.
I was like, no. But what I realized was I don't like being scared because I've been scared for too long in my life.
Yep.
So if there is an opportunity, and this is where fear, I'm just going to quickly talk on fear. This is where fear, I think a lot of people forget that it's never going to go away. It's a protection mechanism. It's there to protect us from doing stupid shit that's actually going to get us killed, which we'll talk about more in our videos. But for me, what I've realized over the last few years with like doing all these things, like stepping out of my comfort zone, seeking discomfort, whatever, is that I don't like feeling afraid, first of all, but it's more about, again, becoming the observer in moments where I do feel fear. And the first thing I ask myself always is this an opportunity to grow? If it is, I have to go for it. Because if I don't, it's actually blocking, it's a barrier I'm putting up, preventing me from growth.
Yep.
If it's something that's legitimately going to get me killed, yeah, prob's not going to do it.
Yep.
Prob's not going to do it. But the other day at the skate park, I literally could see the conversation happening in my head where I was just like, this is a fear that you want to overcome because you know that the outcome of it is like fulfillment. Like it's fulfilling that inner child's little dream of like just being able to skateboard. That's all I want to do. I don't want to go to the Olympics. Maybe I do. I don't know. But so when I can't even tell you when I actually finally got up. We've spoken about how like kids who learn how to skateboard, they learn that persistence, like being consistent, persistency. Like
yeah, it's like
it's a skill.
They call it they actually call skateboarding the fountain of youth because it's the risk for reward is so high and you fail 80 to 90% of the time. It's really good for you.
So that's what I was noticing was like, and it was funny because like lately a lot of things that I've been going through internally has like come down to like starting again constantly. Like I build myself up and then I have to start again. Build myself up, start again. And this thing was a really scary thing for me to start because again, it was requiring me to start again. And I'd been in positions where I started again so many times. This time it was actually a choice that I was like, nah, I'm 100% in on. But the skateboarding thing, I fucked it up for a solid hour and a half, I reckon 200 times. I fell constantly, but there was no part of me that was like, I'm stopping, like I'm giving up. And that is a muscle that I have trained over 4 years.
Yep.
Because had I tried to do that 4 years ago, I would have fallen that first time and I would have been like, I can't do it.
Yep.
Nah, I can't. But as a kid, I used to be the kid who would always just do it. I was the most stubborn child. Like, I wanted to do it, I was going to fucking do it.
Yeah.
If someone said no, there was going to be a way. I'd find a way. And I lost that during my teen years, again, with all the shit that I was going through. And then when I hit 22 or 23 and was like, I need to start doing the things that actually bring me joy and fulfillment, it was having to exercise that fear muscle again.
Yeah.
Like, what are you afraid of? Why are you afraid of it? Are you afraid because somebody else is telling you should be afraid? Fucking sick, go do it.
Yep.
Not to prove them wrong. It's got nothing to do with anyone else. It's just to prove to yourself that you're more than capable of doing it.
Yep.
And it always comes back. Now I'm on a rant.
It always
comes back down to like, you know, as kids, we betray ourselves so much, let alone when we get to like teenage years, we betray ourselves even more. And what I mean by that is we forget how important our word is. Our word is Bible.
Yeah.
And so when I say things like, I'm going to go and do this, I don't just say it for you to give me the reaction of, oh, you're so crazy, you're wild, you're this. No, I'm going to fucking do it. You like, this is me being accountable for myself to say.
Just try tell Mom that she can't do something. It's quite scary.
Literally. But.
No, I'm not going to.
But no, it's just, it is. It's like that thing where it's just, I've had to build up the confidence again. And the only way I was going to build up the confidence was to step out of my comfort zone, to get into that growth phase, to just prove to myself, like, you're more than capable of doing fucking anything you want to do.
Absolutely.
And that's what this whole thing's about, is just proving to yourself, just start here, start small, stay consistent, and fucking watch yourself skyrocket.
It's so like that muscle that you said that it's so funny because I forget that sometimes. And you forget, because sometimes I get comfortable within those areas. With skateboarding, I'm like, it's glued to my feet, and then I will fall and I will hit the deck hard, and I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta respect you.
Yeah.
Right? But I think I had that for a long time definitely with performing with music. But that's why I love talking to you. I haven't heard it explained like that before, and it is constantly getting up over and over again and noticing that if it is for somebody else or for the fear of someone else, or to show somebody else that you can do it, it doesn't work.
It doesn't feel good.
It doesn't feel good. I used to get so fucking anxious performing because one of the bands that I performed the most in, ultimately it wasn't in line with me. I was terrified constantly. Recording was hard. I used to get really... I've always had a problem, which you've probably heard by now, with feeling heard and actually expressing myself. So I'll energetically be blocked in my throat and give myself fully throat infections.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I'm really excited to talk about is like kinesiology and actually moving through these energetic blockages that we have in our body, because it manifests into or turns into physical illness. And like everyone goes, stress. It's like, yeah, that's a blanket. I think that can just be a blanket description of what all of these individual blockages, because something that blocks me isn't going to block you the same.
Yeah.
Something that's going to block our friend isn't going to block them the same, but it puts under the banner of stress. It's like, hey, what if we could actually get down a little bit further and find our spots, find what it actually is that we're holding on to, and the trauma or the past experiences that are blocking us from moving forward into our truth now. And with music, I did that for a really long time. So it's funny because I was constantly strengthening this muscle for the wrong reasons. As soon as you said that, I was like, the velvet addiction, which is what we were called. Strengthening that muscle for the wrong reason. But the moment I started doing it for myself, it's like that muscle was already really strong. Now I've just directed the intention to something good, to myself. Doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. And I wasn't getting nervous to get on stage. I didn't get scared to... There's still a little bit of nerve, of course. But it wasn't turning into like a throat infection.
Yeah.
It wasn't so blocked that I had trouble speaking.
Yeah.
You know? So... it's really epic to have all these little things and to be proactive in doing them, because you're right, it actually seeps into every other part of your life.
100%.
Seeps into your career. You could be skateboard. I skateboarded into the hospital. So in the middle of the pandemic earlier this year, Lance was in hospital with shingles, and I skateboarded in. And one of the nurses said to me, I thought this was so rad. She's like, a lot of the young doctors skateboard to work now. And I was like, that makes me so happy, because it's like these activities and these things that we do when we're young, it's just like common practice for everybody to continue them as they get older now.
Yeah.
Everybody's just like, I love this. You can see the benefit in it. It's that flow state, or it's that happiness.
Yeah.
Right? I'm going to continue to do it, even if social standards say that you shouldn't. It's like, well, we're breaking all of those now in real, like, as we move through. So, yeah, I'm scared to skydive.
I saw your mind going, and I was like, where's it going to go next? And then you threw that
I'm
in.
scared for all the things we're going to do next year together, because that muscle's got to be nailed in a little.
So skydiving is like your thing, skateboarding, my thing, skydiving.
Yeah.
And for me, like, again, everybody goes, you're crazy for this, you're crazy for that. It's like, yeah, but what I see in skydiving is something that people don't see. And for me, it is this like full on 150% present awareness.
Yep.
That feeling of falling and then realizing that you have nothing to hold on to is that. For the very first time I went skydiving was in New Zealand, and I remember saying to myself, as soon as I let go,
I just got really anxious because I've been once, and I just remembered what that feeling was like.
The first 3 seconds are the worst.
Oh my god, yeah.
So get ready for 2022. But I remember saying, like, as soon as like I let go, it was like I have nothing to hold on to. And then I was like, midair, I was like, this is life. There is nothing to hold on to.
Yeah. Where's the fence?
Exactly. Literally. Like, you're either gonna die or you're gonna survive and have a really cool story to tell.
Yeah.
Either way, whilst you're in the air, you're fucking thriving.
Absolutely.
But what you touched on with music, so again, like the YouTube channel that I've done for like the last year and a half, that taught me so many valuable life lessons. Because again, every video that I uploaded, and I did it consistent, that was my one rule, consistency. Stay consistent every week on a Sunday night, regardless of what life is throwing at you during the week, that video has to be uploaded. That's the promise you're making to yourself.
Yeah, you've said this a lot to me, and I am really intrigued by that consistency and that showing up. Because, it was
my one thing because it was so important to me. And I up until that point, had constantly let myself down through people pleasing, through doing things for other people, whatever. This was the one thing that I was so fucking terrified of doing because for so many factors. Once I actually verbalized and said, no, I'm going to do, it's like this switch went off in my head where I was like, you've got to show up. And if you want to make this thing legit, you've got to be there every week. If you say you're going to upload on a Sunday, there's going to be none of this shit where it's like, oh, but work was really busy this week, so I can't do my video. It was like, no, because the second you open that floodgate, that's when everything else is going to get open. Because I knew that within myself. I knew past experiences and past habits and behaviors. That's what I always did. I let one thing slip. Then it was like, diet, nutrition, health, perfect example of it. This was my one thing. I was like, if you can prove this to yourself and get to the end of 2020, having uploaded 52 videos, just for the sake that you wanted to upload 52 videos, your life's going to change.
Yeah, that's what intrigues me so much because it's like there's nobody else to do it for.
Yeah.
It's exactly. Like a really unique... Yeah, it is a really unique thing because it's just you and there's so much work that goes into it too.
The accountability thing for me was like... I didn't have anyone to blame. And it was like so many little lessons that I was learning along the way where it was like, this is your thing. You got to take ownership of it. This is your life. You've got to take ownership of it. You can't blame other people when things go wrong.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you have to be there on Sunday to fucking hit upload. And then through doing it all, it was just teaching me all these things. And I was like, life's just like YouTube. Life's just like video editing. You're going to fuck things up. You're going to lose things and you just start again. But... yeah, it was just like one of those things where it was like every video that got uploaded, even every podcast that got uploaded, it didn't matter what happened after it. It didn't matter if 50 people watched it. It didn't matter if fucking 397,000 people watched it.
Actually, I did Wim Hof this morning and you came on afterwards. Like I was laying there and I closed my eyes. I did an extra couple of rounds. With it, I put it back because I really like him guiding. And I hear Mon's voice. I was like, are you kidding me? I looked over and I touched it. I was like, Mon's like this, staring at me in a white t-shirt going, the Wim Hof method. And I was like, oh my God.
Love that. But like, you know, for me, it was just like, hit upload and you've done everything you came here to do.
Yes, that's
uploaded
incredible.
The video, you added another one, you gave it everything, you put in the work.
Yep.
Now, whatever happens after that, it's an added bonus. Like
so powerful.
I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful for the support and whatever, but it doesn't actually matter. Like, it doesn't shift or change what I came or set out to do.
Yep.
Which is where I think, like, with a lot of the mindset stuff, it's understanding why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Who's it for? If it's not for you, don't do it.
And then twist it around. That's why the mindfulness comes in really good because then you can feel into... what's coming up when I think of this?
Yeah.
Well, who am I doing it for? And if you say it's for me and you feel really anxious or your body's saying no, maybe you're lying to yourself.
Yep.
But building that muscle of awareness to be able to actually notice that.
And it is. It's like, I think, for me, from my experience, mindfulness is literally building trust with yourself.
That's a really beautiful way of putting it.
It is.
Yeah, it is.
That's all I've been doing is like rebuilding that trust from like just self-betrayal for so many years in so many aspects of my life.
Yeah.
That's come with having to go back and revisit parts of my life where, you know, those bad parts where I shunned and demonized and was like, I'm not that person anymore. It's like, you need to go back and say thank you to that version of yourself because they fucking got through everything. And like you've touched on, it was survival. You were just trying to get to the next stage to find a spot or a space where it was like, I can try and sort my shit out here. Just give me some breathing time to sort this out. But, you know, we just get so caught up with everything that we either don't go, and this is where you've got to be careful to not go back in the past and live there, because
Yep.
that's not useful.
No.
It's going, okay, this thing happened, gonna work through that, but then it's also realizing at what point are you going to draw the line and stop surviving and start thriving.
Yes.
And that is where mindset's so important, because it's like, well, you need to start shifting everything you've learned, every thought pattern and behavior that you've done to survive, and realize in the space of mindfulness, you no longer need to survive. You're good. You're here. Sweet. Like, let's start fucking thriving.
Yep. Absolutely. I say absolutely a lot, by the way, too. If it's annoying, I'm going to get rid of it by the next one. I have buzzwords, so we'll create a buzzword list.
Or just a little compilation video.
So, what? So there's like our experiences, mindfulness, mindset, and then I suppose, is this the fourth pillar, or is this just the pillar that sits on top of them all? Maybe it's the roof, the practices. Yeah.
Well, I think that kind of ties in absolutely everything, because we want to share our experiences, and through those experiences, it was, mindfulness practices and mindset practices, but it's just the thing that's tying everything together.
And just giving and showcasing as many different types with as many different people, so you can change shit up day to day, and you can work out what works best for you this week or this month or this whole year, whatever the hell it is, whether it's Wim Hof, whether it's just some really simple breath work or pranayama.
Because this is the thing, and I think it's why we're so passionate about it, is like, we grew up constantly being told what to do, what was right for us, when it was like, you don't know what's right for me, you're not me, so how are you going to sit there and tell me what I need when you don't even know what you need, first of all, let alone like what I could potentially need, because you're not experiencing what I'm experiencing. So we don't want to be sitting here telling people what to do. It's like, this is what we did, here's the information, here's the person, here's the practice, here's the whatever, take it or don't. It's okay. Like, you don't need to, we're not trying to force anything down anyone's throats. It's just like,
just try it on.
Yeah. And we believe in this stuff. Like, we're never going to tell you guys to go and try something or do something that we haven't tried ourselves, or one of us hasn't tried ourselves, or we don't trust, like the person that's, doing the practice or giving the information. Like, because, I think everybody will, us in particular, we know what it feels like to be lied to your whole fucking life. We know what it feels like to be told, this is the only way, do it this way. It's not.
Or somebody reading a script by something that they think is good.
Yeah.
It's like, did you even try this?
Yeah.
Do you even believe what you're talking about? It's the people within, getting people on in their full authenticity and their full power, and getting them to just share the things that they love.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think you said something the other day that was really good. It was, what did you say?
Compliment each other rather than compete with each other. I think we're in this awesome time where there is more practices, more yoga studios, more gyms, more mindset coaches, more
accessibility.
Accessibility is out of this world. But I think the competition with one another, which, I mean, there's always going to be a level of that is necessary, and I understand that, but it also breeds this, my practice is better than everybody else's, so come, like, these false promises.
Yeah.
It's like, if you can get rid of those false promises, it's like, no, they're all fucking incredible. They are all the best thing ever. If it's from that truth, it can change your life.
Yeah.
But just don't expect it to change it forever, because we're human beings, we're shifting, we're constantly changing. So it's like, let's try the other, not the next best thing, but the other best thing tomorrow, because they're all great. And I think if you can have that compliment of one another rather than that competition, I think that creates a pretty awesome community.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. And I think one thing you just said then was something that always triggers me, because like the stuff that we're going to be bringing to you guys is going to, like I said, stuff that we've tried, stuff that we believe in, but it's also probably stuff that we've been doing for a very long time, whether that's meditating, whether that's journaling, whatever it is. It's like, you can't expect to undo 15, 20, 30 years of conditioned and programmed like thoughts and patterns, behaviors, whatever, in a 7-minute YouTube video. Like, it's not going to happen.
No.
It's not going to happen. So when we give this stuff out to you guys, it's like, cool, here's the thing, now do the work. We can't do the work for you.
No, I got to do my work.
No, we still got our own
I got a lot of shit to sort through, alright? A lot. I'm just above water.
I think we both are right now. But, you know, I think that's just a really big point I always try to make with stuff, because it's like, you know, fucking something as simple as journaling. I've been doing it for 2.5... It changed my life when I started. But when I started, I was also the person that was like, fuck this right off. Yeah. This is dumb.
Fuck you for showing it to me. I don't want to do this. This is stupid. Who am I talking to?
Who
am I writing to? Who's going to read it? What's the point? Where do I put the book afterwards?
I'm done. I'm not doing
do
this
I
anymore.
burn it? Do I have... what? My kinesiologist, Stacey, she goes, Stefan, I really like... She was 100% right. She's like, I think you need to write this thing down that you're having a problem with and burn the piece of paper. I'm so fucking romantic and... I was like, yeah, I can create a big fire out the back. I can... I'll go outside, I'll sit down, I'll write on it, I'll rip it off and I'll burn it. And she's like, what is wrong with you, Stefan? She didn't say what is wrong with you, but she's like, why do you have to make everything so dramatic? I'm like, I don't know, it's in my bones. But, yeah, so... that was just in line with journaling. Anyway, there's lots of different ways to do lots of different things. But also simplifying these, like... These things, it is simplifying them, because sometimes it's funny. Somebody who's going to be on this soon, Steve or Moji or Stivka or Snags. I've got a lot of nicknames for him. He's great.
Call him Steve, but anyway.
Pod calls him Steve. But he's the same as me. And I remember telling him that story and him going, man, that sounds epic. And then I'm like, yeah, we're so dramatic. And he's like, and he just cracked up. He laughed so hard. He's like, we are, aren't we? I'm like, yeah, dude, it doesn't have to be that hard. None of it does. Like meditating, you don't have to sit cross-legged with your fingers in a mudra, levitating. Like, sit on a fucking kitchen chair. Yeah, sit on a kitchen chair. You know, sit on the couch, lay down on the floor, whatever's comfy. And like, that's another thing about this, like simplifying everything. Because
that's the magic equation. I'm going to give it to you right fucking now. The thing that's going to change your life is simplicity plus consistency equals longevity. It's that simple. And that is what I learned doing YouTube for 52 weeks in a year.
And eating tofu 3 times a day for the last, how long?
8 months. Shut up. Any tofu sponsors want to sponsor me? Go for gold. But it was that. It was like, through the consistency, I was finding ways to be more efficient, which means things got simpler. I got smarter.
Yes.
I made my life easier. The task at hand wasn't easy, but I found ways to make it easier. Therefore, I knew I could do it for a long period of time.
Yep.
Weight loss, perfect example as well. We fucking overcomplicate that shit. So I overcomplicated it so much.
How many? 14? 15?
No. Why did I mention that on here?
Mon lost like all this weight. I'm really proud of her.
Thanks. No, well, it is. It's a very good thing, because I was always somebody who really battled, which I'll speak about in a later episode, with body image. So this year, at the start of the year, when I decided, again, the switch went off in my head. It was like, this is happening. Like, you've done a year of this thing where you stay consistent. Let's see how you go with food, which was always a really big issue for me. Training, not so much, but I knew I wasn't training properly and I wasn't nourishing my body. And I was just fucking myself. And I remember the trainer that I had at the start of the year, she said to me, she's like, why are you doing this? Like, why do you want to change your lifestyle? And I think she was expecting me to be like, oh, because I want to lose like 10 kilos, or I want to just be fit for summer or something. My answer, literally, because I'd written it down before I had this like meeting with her, was I want to be skydiving when I'm 70.
Yeah. I love that so much.
To be hiking when I'm 50. I can't do that if my fucking body is not going to keep up with me.
Yeah.
My mind might think I can do those things. It probably will. But my body is going to be like, what the fuck do you mean? You did not look after like me for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and now you just expect me to fucking climb up a mountain.
Yeah.
No, sit on the couch. Like, And that for me is my worst nightmare.
That shift to longevity.
Yeah.
It's the biggest game changer.
And it was like, well, how am I going to... I can't do quick fixes. I can't do these rubbish diets. I can't do these rubbish... And I shouldn't say rubbish because I think like things like 8-week challenges and stuff...
It could be a great segue,
they're great.
right?
Yeah, very, very great. But I know... at that point, I knew myself well enough to be like, that's not going to work for me.
Yeah. And if I feel like with that kind of stuff, if you do too many, we live in like this wham-bam society where it's like, fucking just... Look, if you were to read all the advertisements, 8 weeks before summer is all you need. You can eat whatever the fuck you want for winter. That is fucked. That is ridiculous. It's like, why would you not want to feel good the whole year round?
Yeah.
Like, I think mum and dad said the greatest thing the other day, but mum and dad, they were on holidays or something, and she's done very well with her health and fitness. So has dad, actually. My dad, Mark West, gets 2 new knee replacements, laughs the whole way through it, and is walking like within a week. And the nurses and the doctors are like, we've never seen anybody do this. Talk about the power of the mind. That man is just like, I'll smile, I'm great. I can just get through this. Fucking get him to talk about mindset.
Mark, you're on the show.
Mark, you're in. No, we couldn't. Dad, I'm sorry, I just couldn't talk. No, we can't do that. No, we'll get him on though. But no, but it's like shifting to that longevity thing. I'm super passionate about that because it's like, why the fuck wouldn't you want to feel good all the time?
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to be happy all the time. You've got to feel your emotions, but why don't you give yourself a fighting chance? We live in this society where we're covered in... There's so many things that can... Whether it be our phones, whether it be TV, whether it be processed food, whether it be alcohol, whether it be drug use, over-medication, all this shit, they're tiny little things that just get piled on top of you. How the fuck are you going to have good mental health? How the fuck are you going to live your life to your fullest ability?
And it always just comes back to that whole point of like, it's easier to suffer.
Easier to suffer, but if you can... Yeah, absolutely.
It's easier to suffer and blame. Like,
because then you're constantly pushing the blame onto other people. But if you can... mindfulness... Start to be aware of yourself. Start to feel how these things actually affect you. Start to look for long-term options rather than these quick fixes, which are really just you being caring about what everybody else thinks if you want to be good in that time. Because you can't possibly be thinking about your overall happiness if it only matters for 3 months of the year.
Exactly.
Like, what the fuck? I want to feel good all the time. I want to give myself a fighting chance all the time anyway. Yeah. So being aware of all these things and how they affect you individually... game changer.
Yeah. And that's pretty much what we're trying to do with ourselves every single day. But
every day.
That's basically everything that we want to be talking about and talking to on this podcast, through the YouTube videos. Like, and again, we're not experts in any of these fields.
Nothing.
We're never going to say that we are. No. But going back to what I said at the start, we're the experts of our experiences.
Yeah. I definitely know what has worked and definitely know what has not worked for me. And I'm more than happy to share that. But yeah, I'm not an expert in any of this shit.
Yeah.
I just know what feels good in my own body.
Yeah.
That's it.
And I think that's just the biggest thing for us, is just to show you guys and just make you guys aware that, like, you need to build that confidence within yourself. Like, you need to build that confidence from the get-go. And I honestly believe it starts with what you say every single day to yourself.
Yeah.
And what you actually verbalize. Like, for me, I've stopped saying sorry.
Yeah, same.
And I've also... Yeah, you always say it to me and it shits me. I'm like, don't be sorry. I know you're not. Like, don't say it.
To be honest, you're probably the only person I say it to now.
Oh!
I deleted out of messages now. I'm like, I'm not fucking sorry for this. But it's Mon, I'm like, hey, sorry.
But, sorry and no, like, growing up, they were two things that were instilled in me because it always came down to make sure everybody around you is happy.
Yeah.
Don't worry about how you feel right now. Just as long as everybody else is happy, that's fine. And it's funny because that, again, goes back to, if you want to take it back to, like, Sapien days, where it was like, you had to be liked to survive. Because if you if you weren't liked, you were an outcast in the community. You would die if you didn't have people that liked you. Like, we carry that shit with us from fucking millennia ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that is that was the biggest shift for me, was like starting to trust my own word and actually finding value in it, because like everybody has value in their word, because everybody is of value.
Yes.
Your story matters, my story matters, anyone that's listening right now, your story matters. Even if you're sitting there going, I've got nothing to say, I can fucking sit down with me for 5 minutes and I can guarantee you something you say is probably going to make me think like something completely different.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. You don't know what power your story has until you just say it.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think you've experienced that through the podcast and just everything up until now. I can personally say I've definitely experienced that with all the stuff that I've been doing. And it still blows my mind. Like when I get emails from people in Germany being like, oh my God, I watched your videos. It's like, what?
Yeah.
What do you mean? So...
Yeah, you guys actually just get to learn how to podcast with me, because this is number 2.
Learning this literally before we started, he's like, so how do I hit record?
How do I hit record? What do I...
But I think that's the exciting part as well. Like, you're going to get to learn so many new things. I know together we're going to be learning. We already have been learning
lots
so
of
much.
new things.
But that's the whole fucking point. You're constantly learning. But you can only constantly learn if you're open to learning.
Exactly. Like this floor. There's a few bubbles, but God, it's like 6 coats of paint, I think.
Stefan's, but we'll show you the floor. He's very proud of this floor.
I'm proud of the floor, but I also think I was given some not so good information about how to paint the floor.
Don't throw the fucking girl under the bus.
I'm not. I'm just saying, white would
imagine
maybe
if she was
better
listening.
She did she gave us a great orange. Thank you. I don't remember your name, but thank you.
And I think we're going to wrap it up there.
We should.
Well, no, guys, thank you so much for tuning into episode 1 of the Be More You podcast. So these ones are going to be going out every single Monday, unless something happens in our lives that we feel the need to just talk about, and then you might get a surprise episode during the week.
Which is very likely to happen with the 2 of us.
Yeah. Probably going to start next week, to be honest. But Monday is a guaranteed episode.
Yep.
And then if you haven't already, check out our YouTube channel. It's funny, as we're recording this, today's actually Be More You launch day, which is so exciting. On the channel you'll find our stories that we've shared, and it'll be the start of all the epic shit we've got coming up as well, where we're just going to be giving you guys stuff that you can go and utilize in your own life. And if it works, share it. Tell us if something we said or did has helped you in some way, because that's what it's all about, is just sharing. And you want to add anything?
No. I'm just happy to be here. And thank you for listening.
So make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel, because that helps us out a lot. And like this podcast on Spotify.
Like it.
And Apple.
And share it to your friends and your
look
family.
at him, he's learning.
Is this what you say?
But that's it from us for the first episode, guys. Thank you so much for listening wherever you're tuning in from, and we will see you back here next
Monday.
week.
Next week. Goodbye.